Yep, I got a used carburetor off of a bike and a motorcycle junkyard, and it's pretty rough. It's stuck. This won't turn. So I'm going to disassemble this and throw it in a coffee can full of lacquer thinner. And then I got this body coming, new old stock from a Honda dealer in Washington State, old inventory, but it's by no means perfect. It's, you know, it's got issues from sitting around. It looks like it was in a flood, but the guy says he thinks it's totally usable. So anyway, this is what I'm interested in seeing, if this, yeah, that's stuck too. The guy told me this bike was sitting outside in the weather, so maybe I'll squirt it down with penetrant. Yeah, I'll squirt it down with penetrant. I'm going to try and get this out, and then we'll get it apart, things moving, and go from there. And like I say, with the new body, I think with the parts, I want to look at the jet there to see if this one's been hogged out. I'm sure it has, but overall, this thing isn't as bad as what I expected. It looks better than what it looked in the photos he sent me when he pulled it. He said it was on a bike outside in the weather. So yeah, it looks like it too. All right, let me work on getting that freed up and soaking. Yeah, that is not very attractive. I'm probably going to have to use toilet bowl cleaner to clean this up. This is really beyond use, this float bowl. Little screw there, when I went to unscrew it to see if there's anything in the float, snapped off, but we don't need this part, and I think it'll clean up anyway, and I can probably get that broken piece out eventually anyway. But right now I got to try and get that float pin out. I just want to get some of it apart so I can start soaking it in penetrant and do what I need to clean it up. And yeah, it's a mess, but we'll make it work. Let's do what we can to see to clean this up. I blew it out with compressed air, but yeah, this thing's pretty darn cruddy. I couldn't get those two screws out, so we'll soak it. And this is loose here, so I got the screw out for that. The choke thing works, but the slide is frozen. This jet turns in there, so I'll be able to get that out. I've had this out, but I'm going to give this a ultra quick bead blast in here, and I don't want to mess up any threaded holes. And I show the nastiness in there. Yeah, it's going to need a little bit of cleaning to get that thing freed up, but I think it'll be a good carburetor. I think it'll clean up. Let's get to it. Oh yeah, that's a little worn away there. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we won't be able to use it, but we'll use parts off of it. You know, it'll make a good parts carburetor if we can't. I can't get the float out. The pin is stuck in, so that's why I'm bead blasting that to help get penetrant in there. And that screw is like so full of stuff that I couldn't get a screwdriver bit in it. Give these screws a little clean up. Alright, I think that'll do for now. Wow, yeah, this thing is super nasty. Well, the float moves now. Didn't move, it was kind of stuck before. Alright, that's clean enough to get it soaking. I don't want to blast the outside of the casting. I just wanted to clean up that float bowl, and then the penetrance will work a little bit better in there. Well, the carburetor's coming apart. A lot of crud in it. But I think, I don't know, we'll get it. That's where the gas inlet is. I can't get the needle is stuck in the seat. I even tried blowing it out with compressed air, but yeah, and I can't get that out, so we're going to soak that. I don't want to break one of these things off, so I'm going to soak that with penetrant. The screw doesn't turn, I'm going to soak that. This was like caked in like a greasy sludge, so it was just sticky. Once I unbolted it, I was able to pull that right out, no problem. Anyway, let me start soaking this with some penetrant. I sprayed penetrant in that, and that's that part that was broken off. That I'll be able to extract that, no problem. I got penetrant on both sides of it. Got penetrant on that, and I squirted through the jets, all the jets. So the main's plugged, but the jet that comes down through to this is not plugged because it was squirting out the air bleeds. And when I was squirting in the idle passages to get, which is right there, to get, you know, fluid on the back side of that, it came out everywhere except for the hole in there, and I sprayed some in that anyway. Just try and get penetrant on both sides of that needle valve there. I don't want to damage anything there. I want to get that out because this is the part that I think's bad, and I got penetrant on that and the screw. Just try and get this thing freed up. So we'll let that sit overnight, keep a little penetrant soaking on it, and hopefully tomorrow things will come apart. Finally, with a bunch of fuss, I got this down to the basic bare shell. And other than taking the choke out, and that's nice and free, so I'm not going to take that out. But yep, I'm going to clean it in some lacquer thinner to get all the penetrants and stuff off. Then I'm going to clean this area with some toilet bowl cleaner. I'll show you how I do that when I get to it. And basically it's all pretty clean. All the jets, I had carb cleaner go through all the jets. That jet is smaller. I'll see if I can get some video of the little jets somehow so you can see the sizes of them. Alright, I'm going to soak that in some lacquer thinner for a couple of days, and then I might soak it in some evapor rust for a few hours or so just to make sure there's no corrosion in any of the ports, and we'll clean it with gum out and blow it out with some compressed air, and hopefully that'll take care of it. And I will shove it all the way down into the fluid as soon as before I cover the can. I just pulled it up like that so you can see the carburetor is in the lacquer thinner. I just got it in a little metal can, and I can put a lid on it. Saves it from evaporating. I was using my inspection camera. Maybe I'll just upload these videos so you can see them. But anyway, there's a crack right there, and there was another crack I could see. I think it was in a separate photo, but you can clearly see how oblong the hole is for the oops, that's, I don't know what that's a piston in, but anyway, that's clearly oblong. And then this is the new carburetor before I cleaned it. You can see it's a smaller hole. It's not oblong and it's not cracked. And there is the carburetor that's currently on the bike that runs Rich, and you can see the crack run from right down that hole right up to the top of the bore, and you can see it from the bottom about to the right there. If you really look, you can see it. So it's cracked. I think somebody over tightened the screw after they hogged it out, because the screw was bottomed in tight when I got the bike, and I think they hogged that out too much. I mean, it's just really sloppy. Like I said, I'll put a photo of that in, and then they tightened it down so tight to try and get it to lean out, I think, or whatever, and they cracked the body of the carburetor. So that is, the casting's ruined. These are the threads. So anyway, like I say, I'll put, because I don't know how well the GoPro is going to focus on this, so I'll put a couple photos from my inspection camera in the video for you guys. Got my NOS carb body today, and it's actually a little better shape than what I expected. I thought that the looked like it had a lot of corrosion on it, but actually it's in really good shape. All the ports appear to be clean. I ordered an ultrasonic cleaner, and it's gonna be here tomorrow, so I'll put this in it. And if I could get this is that junkyard carburetor, and if I could get this thing looking like that, and everything's clear in this carburetor, it's ready for an ultrasonic cleaner too. But if I can get that junkyard carburetor cleaned up, the float bowls and the soaking in the lacquer thinner, but if that cleaned up like it did, this will clean up even better. So yeah, I'm not too concerned. In the float bowl I've had in here, you remember what that looked like when it came off, right? And the thing is still broken off in it. I got to get that out. But yeah, I put the jets in there. The jets are still soaking in there too. But tomorrow we'll get all that in an ultrasonic cleaner and see how that works. I picked up this ultrasonic cleaner on Amazon, and I'm going to try it with the old carburetor base first. And you just put water in it. It comes with a little, I don't know if you're supposed to use the basket or not. We'll use it. Sometimes you just set the stuff in there. It comes with a little thing you can put small stuff in. Has the settings there. And I bought a big enough one to where I could put a 4-barrel carburetor disassembled in it. You know, just in case if I want a clean one, you know, I'll be able to set the carb body in it. But anyway, I'm going to put some water in here, cover this up with water, and we'll turn it on and see how it cleans this. This is actually cleaned up pretty nice. This is the junkyard carburetor. This is the NOS one, and I already worked on cleaning this one up a bit so it's usable. I'm going to have to take the choke and the seals and stuff out of this one. For this one, I got a seal for up here. I got an extra one when I did the carburetor that's on the bike, but that you can, if you look in the on my Instagram, I shoved the inspection camera in here and you can see that hole. Somebody over tightened the screw in it, and it's just got stars of cracks, but one big crack down and one up and one big crack down, but the biggest one's up, and then a bunch of little star cracks out. And I must just had gum and crud in there, and once I ran it a bit, it must have washed it out. You know, I put about 50 miles on the bike, and then it started running rich. So anyway, oh, and this is another thing. This is a drain, and I put about 20 wraps on that, but yeah, the threads on that are not the right same size, so I'll probably just throw this away and just drain it, you know, from there, because that's just going to drip around there and make a big mess. And so that's just going to have to go in the garbage, or I'll find a barb that will thread into that, which who knows what the threads are on what, you know. I don't know if this is the cheap thread or if that's cheap thread or what, but I don't think we even need that hose. I'll just drain it just straight out of that. And I put water in it up just to even with the bottom of the basket. I guess you can put it up to this line right here, but no higher. Just use my watering can. I kind of spilled a little water there, but oh well. Anyway, let's turn it on. So let's see, we got the time. Let's see, I think that, oh, there's a switch on the back. There we go. Let's just say that's good. And I'm not really sure what. And let's set the temperature on something too. That's Celsius, I don't know, we'll set it to, I guess you can't set it up to 40. We'll set it at 30. it's 27 now, which is what came out of the hose. Maybe we'll set it up a little higher. There. Alright, we'll let it go. I just put a few extra parts in there. I just want to see what it does. This is kind of a test run. I don't know if that stuff actually needs to sit on the bottom or if that's good in the basket. We will soon find out, won't we? I took it out and I was just peeping at it while I was going, but yeah, it definitely, hands down, no doubt about it, cleaned this thing up. I'm surprised. This thing was just caked in corrosion and most of it's off. This is going to go back in and I'm going to just throw it in the bottom here without the tray. Might throw this back in even though this is not what I'm going to use on the bike. That cleaned up surprisingly well. It was super rusty dirty. Like I say, back in, and this, wow, that really cleaned up. That was super nasty. We're going to throw it in without the tray. Yeah, that still got a little rust on it, but again, these are parts I'm not using. I'm just trying this thing out. And I'm going to set this in there just as it is. 104 degrees is what 40 Celsius is. So the water's 40 Celsius and it's been 30 minutes. Oh, I want to put these little jets in there too. I think I might put a couple of them in this because I don't want the small ones. I'll put in this, and then the rest will just, that I don't want to put in the thing because I'm not going to use that. This has fewer. This has 3 holes. I don't know if those show up or not. It has 4 actually, but 3 above it. The other one has 5 or 4 above the one. So I don't know if that'll make a difference or not, but we may want to use that. So that will go in there too. And then let me get those in there and we'll start this thing back up and see how it does, and then we'll put that body in. You can kind of see the 2 little parts in there. So let's just throw it in there and let's just turn this on for another 30 minutes. And I think the heat's already on. It only that light comes on when it's heating. Let's just see what happens now. Take a look at it. See if it's any different. Be interesting to see. They're definitely moving around in there, aren't they? Alright, let's let it go. This ultrasonic cleaner works amazing. So this is the carb body I just took out. And how much cleaner it is just absolutely amazing. All that little bits of corrosion that were still in there are cleaned out. This is shinier. Overall, yeah, that carburetor really cleaned up nice. This stuff here was all rusty and dirty. Wiped it off the paper towel to get the water off, but yeah, it's a lot cleaner and wouldn't take much effort to really spiffy it up. That was just super nasty. And this thing was plugged up and really not usable, and it's as clear as a bell. A little polishing, it would look like brand new. Yeah, I'm impressed. This is the fuel inlet. Those are the O-rings I was talking about. And I took the idle and main jet from this junkyard carburetor that were totally 100% clogged. And they're nice and clear now. That's the 120 main, and then this is the idle. I don't know if you'll be able to see the light. Yeah, probably not, but yeah, that's clear too. And that was plugged from end to end. And I didn't want to run a wire through it for fear of hogging it out. So in there it went, and you can see light through it as clear as day. Let me see if I can get the camera to, yeah, I don't know if I can get the eye of the camera to get it. I can see it with my naked eye just through it as clear as day. And it does clean a little bit better if it's not in the basket, so I'm just throwing that is the NOS one. And we're going to turn it back on. And 30 minutes is, let's see, we'll put the heat, I think the heat's already on. So we'll let that go a little while and see how that comes out. I'm getting the original carburetor apart, and I just took the choke butterfly off so I can take the choke shaft off. But these screws that hold the butterfly to the shaft were not very tight. I could easily turn them out, and good thing, you know, because if those loosened up and got in the cylinder, it would make a mess of the engine. So anyway, let me get this choke shaft out. That's got a new seal. I got to put another new seal in the carburetor body that's in there. And anyway, this is this carburetor, the original carburetor apart. I'm replacing this body, and the body that's in there is the exact same 74 body. The 72 body, which was the junkyard carburetor, which there's a few parts off of it I'm going to use. I bought that carburetor before I found this one, and or the one that's in the parts washer, I should say, the NOS one, because I didn't think I'd ever find something like that. But and then when I saw the condition of the new old stock one, I thought I'll probably end up using the junkyard one. But the junkyard one, I'm only going to use a couple parts off of. That body in the parts washer is super good shape, and it's exact. The 72, the throttle mounts here and here and there. It still has the idle screw in the same spot, but it doesn't have this boss, so I would have had to modify the throttle linkage so it could bolt here. I would have probably had to cut the bits off the original 72 bracket and weld the part of the 74 bracket to it. Now I won't have to, because it'll have this proper thing there. Anyway, I'm going to pull that choke shaft out and see what kind of seals in there, and then we're going to wait for that to clean up, and we'll reassemble a clean carburetor without a hogged out jet. Oh, and the junkyard carburetor, I looked in that jet and it's like Whistling Dixie clean, so hopefully that one comes out the same. And the one in that one's smaller than the one in the junkyard carburetor, so maybe that junkyard carburetor been hogged out a little too, which is smaller than the one in this one. This one's really bad. It's like star-shaped, opened up. Like I say, you know, you'll see that in the photo I put in here that I took with the inspection camera. Anyway, let me get to getting this choke out instead of yapping here. Oh, and it just slides out like so. But yeah, that's just a little, I can easily get that out. It's like a little felt thing in there behind a little metal thing that holds it in place. So we'll pop that out, and so we can reuse it, hopefully. I very carefully took a pick and picked that bit out there for the choke seal. Now I gotta pick out this metal, which I already started getting it out a little bit, because I need to reuse that. That just popped right out with my pick. I couldn't get over how easy it came out. So there's the seal. And this carburetor body, I think, is about as far apart as I need to get it. I think I got everything usable off of it for the new one. Like I said, I'm going to not take this, probably wreck the seal taking it out to reuse it. So I'm just going to leave this one in there and put a new one in the other one. So that'll be new. But anyway, there we go. Down to the original carburetor, down to the bare shell. I'm not going to reuse that screw, because I don't know if it was damaged when it was rammed in real hard all the way. So I'll use the screw that came with the junkyard carburetor. And I'm also using, I don't know, it's in the parts washer, a little bit that holds this. And the original one, it's kind of messed up looking. Yeah, so anyway, we're using the junkyard one and whatever else I need from the junkyard carburetor. That way I won't get it mixed up and accidentally put this one back in. That would be miserable. And you can see this little boss here is not on this casting. It is on that casting, and I need that. That's where the throttle linkage, this assembly, attaches. That's where that screw there goes in. If I ever need parts or do another XL250 in the future, I'll just stash these with all my vintage motorcycle parts. Yeah, I've restored a few bikes over the years. A number of them, they've all been Honda, pretty much all Honda. There might have been another bike in there, but anyway, I have a whole box of just bike parts too. So along with car parts, I have Honda motorcycle parts. So anyway, there we go. Bags of parts, and just waiting on that carburetor body, and we'll throw it together. One more tidbit of what I like to do. So this bike has, this is the plug this bike's supposed to have, as an NGK D80EA. And it has a Champion in it right now. And this bike has an NGK, I don't remember what it is, but it's an NGK. And I find, now maybe I'm crazy, maybe it's all in my head, but this is my thoughts. I find that if you run the brand of spark plugs that they were designed to run with that ignition system, you get your best performance. I find you put Champions and Hondas, they don't run as well as if you put an NGK. They won't last as long because the ignition system was designed to run the NGK plug. Stuff like the Bel Air. I use AC spark plugs in it because the ignition system in the car was engineered for the design spark plug of the ACs. So I don't run Champions or Motorcraft or Autolite or NGK. It has AC in it. The F-150 has either Motorcraft or Autolite in it. The last time I had it in, when it was in the Ford dealer, they had to replace the plastic intake manifold because it cracked, and they warrantied it. And why I had it in there, the truck at the time had maybe 90,000 miles. I had them put new spark plugs in it, seeing they had all that stuff out and apart. And so I assume it's either Motorcraft or Autolite plugs, but I always use the plugs the vehicles were built with, engineered for in their ignition system. If I'm working on a Chrysler, I'll use a Champion. Or if I'm working on a Briggs & Stratton, I'll use a Champion. But in the bike that came with NGKs, that's what I'm going to use. Now maybe I'm crazy, but I've just learned over the years, you get your longest plug life and best performance if you use the plugs that were designed to be used by the manufacturer in the particular engine that they're going in. So if you have a Chrysler Slant 6, put Champions in it. If you have a Chevy with a 283 or any GM, use AC, you know. I mean, it's just the way I am. But I've just, maybe, like I say, maybe it's all in my head, but that's my thoughts. So I'm not going to go to taking these out of the package until I'm ready for them, but that's what it's going to replace. There. That's slightly, the Honda's slightly larger and the wing is slightly yellower. I'll see if I can find one a little closer to what's on there, but yeah, at least I got Honda decals. It's just slightly larger though. I'll see if I can find one that'll be better than nothing. That'll totally work if necessary. But I'll see if I can find one the correct size. And that was $9 for the pair. I mean, you can't beat that. But like I say, they won't go to waste if I don't use them. I'll, like, that's a little more orange and it's just overall a little small. Put them back in the package, and so I don't mess them up, and find somewhere to put them so they don't get destroyed, because it might be a while before I get to this. And I don't know if anything else is available. That might be the only decal available, but I'm gonna try and see if I can find something more to that one right there. I think it would be too difficult to paint that on, though I could paint the yellow and the white and then put black over it, you know. With, I mean, you know, if I did this and that, there's no reason I couldn't do this, and I'm going to be doing this. So we'll just wait and see. You know, I could paint this. I could probably lighten this color up to like that enough to paint that. I don't know. We'll worry about it when we get to it. How's that sound? Just blew it off compressed air to get all the water out of it. And everything looks nice and clean on it. Yeah, I don't know if I can video in there or not, but anyway, there we go. Nice clean carburetor body. It cleaned everything out of that. That thing's super nice and clean. Very happy with that ultrasonic cleaner. Amazing. Got the choke butterfly and all that stuff installed. The little seal, it was super easy to put in. Got a new seal in the throttle shaft and got this assembly all in. That all works as it should now. And I'm going to reset the float level and everything for this carburetor, but it's going together quick. I'm not going to video assembling it. I mean, it's pretty basic and cut and dry. All right, let me get this thing. Plus, I've had it apart. This is 15th time, but with a new body. So anyway, let me finish putting this thing. All right, I very carefully set the float level. This is kind of a pain to show it, but anyway, it's spot on, take my word for it. So we got all the float, most of the carburetor together. You just got to put the float bowl, main jet end float bowl on, and it should be ready to go back on the bike. Well, I switched the fan off so you can hear me, and I put my bug zapper. The flies have been coming in here and just biting the heck out of me, and I don't have any mosquitoes. I got my mosquito magnet going out and back, and there is some flies in the mosquito magnet, but they come in here this time of year, like from mid-July to September. They'll come in here and bite me. So I put that bug zapper up there, and there will be a pile of flies on the floor. When I'm not running these fluorescent tubes, they somehow get attracted to it and get zapped. But anyway, this thing is completely set to factory specs, brand new main body casting. So if this doesn't run right now, the engine's coming off for absolute 100% sure. And we'll be taking it apart to see, you know, if the flywheel key or something's shared in it. But I suspect because that idle mixture where that screw goes in was so badly damaged that I just don't think that I don't think it was an engine issue. I think it was a carburetor issue. So anyway, let's get this thing back on the bike and see what it does. And one very important thing on using brand new carburetor bodies or using stuff that's really been cleaned to where there's no oils or lubricants or anything on it, put a drop of oil on all the screws and in all the threaded holes. So I did that as I assembled it, and I put a drop of oil down in that hole and a drop of oil down in that hole. I'll put a drop on the screws. I did the same with the idle speed set screw, and I oiled the shaft for this on both sides and the bolt that goes in, just, you know, and a drop on each side of the shaft for the choke, and that just keeps everything moving free. And where the O-rings are and stuff, I put this is the throttle fill thing from the original carburetor, and the little choke thing holds that in place in that groove there. So anyway, there we go. I just wanted to point out that I do put a drop of oil on all the fasteners just so don't gull up, putting them in dry brand new castings. So that way you save the threads if you do that. Problem corrected. This thing idles sweet now. That's the idle spec. I've done nothing with the carburetor other than install it. So I'll install the air cleaner, and then we'll take it out for a ride on the road. I think that took care of it. Yeah, look at how sweet that runs now. $12.50 is where it should idle. I'm really happy. I'm going to take it for a little ride and make sure it runs good on the road. Went out and put about 5 miles on it. It runs really good. It idles, doesn't stall. But just cruising 25, you can feel it just hesitating and surging a little bit. I think I set that metering rod on the second clip from the top, where the shop manual said it was originally set on the third clip from the top. And I think tomorrow I'm going to take carburetor apart, which means it has to come off the bike and come apart. And I'm going to change that to the back to the third and see if that takes care of the, I mean, just like second, third gear, 25 miles an hour, you feel it. You get on the throttle and it gets up and goes, and you get up out of the, it's like why it's, you know, running in the idle and high speed circuit. And I just think that in wide open, she gets up and goes. So I'm just going to try that tomorrow. And if that doesn't take care of it, we'll look at maybe readjust the points and just, you know, kind of horse with it a little bit. But I think overall it runs good. It doesn't blow black smoke. It doesn't run rich anymore. Actually runs quite well. So anyway, I'll continue with the video after I you know, adjust the metering rod in that. This is what I'm talking about when I say metering rod. And you got to take this out, and there's a couple little screws in there. And you take those two little screws out. Down in there is one there and one over there. And then you can slide this up and out, and then you can change that clip where it goes on the rod. So we'll do that tomorrow. And I think we'll just call it a night. We got the bike running pretty good right now. So anyway, we'll stay tuned and we'll get that done up too. I took it out of the parts carburetor, the junkyard one, and it's on the second one also. So maybe I'll just swap this out, put this one in the carburetor as opposed to the other one, because I did swap that tube out that goes down the, you know, into the float bowl, the center jet thing. So maybe it needs this. We'll do that tomorrow. I think that will hopefully correct everything. Anyway, there we go. Well, I got it on the third clip. I got the magnifying glass out and looked at the numbers on it. And this numbers on the parts carburetor, which I took the tube out of, are the same as on the carburetor that was originally on the bike. Excuse me. But when I put them side by side, this one looks thinner than that one right in here. Just kind of right in there, it looks like somebody, I don't know if somebody sanded it or what, but right in there, this one's more shaped like this, and this one's more just straight on an angle. And the original one was on the third hole, so this one's on the third hole. I'm putting this one in. We're going to give it a try. You know, I mean, I can take the carburetor top off. I don't need to take the bike apart, but just a little bit there. I can get the slide out. And like I say, this goes in this. So this goes in here, and then you turn it. And it screws in with those two screws. You can see that little ear on there. This will drop down in that hole in the center, and then that little part there is where the E-clip sits. So this will go in like so, and then that goes in and with these two screws and holds it all in. So you got to adjust the carburetor. You got to take it apart. A little bit of fuss. But anyway, we're going to put this in, and it's raining out now, so there's no test driving it, but we'll do it once it stops raining. At least it'll be set. So this is the way it was set when I got the bike, and whether somebody changed it or not, I don't know, but somebody's definitely played with this and that brass tube. Let me find it. This is the brass tube that thing goes in. So like this goes down into the float bowl, into the gas, and then this goes down in here. And as you give the bike the gas, that comes out and opens that up more, allowing more gas to flow. So what it looks like to me was like this was the center inside of that was hogged out just ever so slightly. And it looks like this has been sanded or done something to where it's a straight bevel down to where it's originally kind of rounded looking. So that's, I changed this from the parts carburetor, and I'm putting this in from the parts carburetor because I think these are an issue that somebody has played with. So basically all the jets, 100% of them, have been played with on this carburetor. So that's why I'm switching out everything from the parts carburetor. That's good, because I think somebody just took a gummed up carburetor and hogged everything out just to make it run, and then once all the crud cleaned out from running it, it just ran too rich. But anyway, we're going to try that. We're going to set it on the third. We can play around with it if we need to. And like I say, these, let me see what the number is on this one here. Get you a, I don't think, let's see, it is 27, it looks like 272003 is what it looks like. I need to get it in better light, but that's kind of what it looks like. But anyway, let me throw this back together, and hopefully that'll resolve the engine performance issue. Well, put about 15, 20 miles on the bike. It stopped raining and the roads dried up, even though there's still a 60% chance of thunderstorms. It seems like it's either cold and rainy or it's hot and sunny here this year. We've had a lot of rain, so I haven't had to water a lot. But anyway, replacing the carb body did the job. The bike runs stellar, and I got a whole bunch of carb parts now for an XL250 in the future. If I do another one, 72 to 75 I think these go to. Anyway, yeah, so I'll just save them. Bunch of carb parts. This body here is no good. I might throw that away, I don't know, but this one's still good. And I took the camera out of my helmet so I can give you, this is what I used for my camera I used to make my YouTube videos with, is what I just used to make my video of riding the bike. I put a camera on my helmet for a reason, and I set the lights on the camera. Those little lights, they blink red when it's recording, and you'd be surprised how much different people drive around me on my bike when I have the camera mounted on my helmet and when I don't. It's day and night difference in the way people drive. And I guess they don't want to get their rude driving caught on video. The other day I had somebody, as I was turning left, I was on the 175, and I'll put a little clip of it in the video. I was turning left into my driveway, and this guy passed me as I was turning left. I ride these bikes like and drive my car like I'm invisible, a Bel Air. But people just don't see you, and they pull out in front of you. I've had, most of the time in neighborhoods, I have lost count of how many times I've had to come to complete stops and just sit there and wait while somebody backs out of their driveway right in front of me. And then one woman, she actually went off on me like it was my fault. She backed out in front of me. Anyway, enough of that complaining and everything. So the bike runs stellar. Like I say, it just absolutely runs beautiful. I just stuck to the neighborhoods. 2 reasons: just to make sure I don't have any issues with it. For a while I might put about 40-50 miles in the neighborhoods before I take it out. I did take it out on a little bit more, and this thing just cruises nicely at 50 miles an hour. I mean, it just hums right along, and it kind of likes that 50 mile an hour range, to where the 175, about 40-45 is where it really likes to cruise. This likes 50-55. And but anyway, like I say, we'll now that it is running good, we'll ride it maybe 50 or 100 miles just to make sure everything's all good, and then I'm going to strip it apart and cosmetically restore it. I just wanted the bike to run good, and like I say, I set the timing, adjusted the valve lash. It's got new points. I put an NGK plug in it. The main body of the carburetor is new old stock, because somebody, if you hadn't been watching my videos, somebody ran that screw in and cracked starburst out the jet in there, so it was just idling so rich it would just stall after 30 seconds or a minute. It was blowing black smoke out idling. Doesn't blow any black smoke, and boy does it get up and go when you stand on the throttle. And I think this bike would easily pop some wheelies. You just give it a little gas and dump the clutch, and it's lifting the front wheel and wanting to go. So it's got a lot. The XL175's got a ton of miles for a little bike. That's a lot of miles. It's actually got 2,500 more miles than what the speedometer says, because the Honda dealer, when it was brand new, took it in for the 500-mile checkup, and they left it outside, and the speedometer filled with water, so I made them replace it. And by the time they got the new speedometer, the bike had 2,500 miles on it. So it's got, like 15,000 miles on the little bike, which is like 150,000 miles on a car, really. So anyway, this thing's ready to do the cosmetics. So I'm going to end the video here. My battery's about dead too, so if you like the video, hit that thumbs up icon. It definitely helps me out. If you like my channel, that 348 engine icon will help you subscribe. And thank you for watching my video.